A beautiful circus performer finds her mundane life disrupted and perilous by the appearance of a mysterious being. Long before mankind, the Earth has been home to a great diversity of life through different ages. While many animals have thrived and evolved, there are creatures that have yet to evolve without the perfect vessel for thousands of years of exploration. Eventually reaching Africa, a hunter captured his newest vessel, the leopard, while migrating from various hosts. The animal is shipped to human civilization and sold as a commodity. In France, a truck loaded with circus owner Roman's luggage rammed into the property. In the trailer, Yanka gets on the scale and writes her results on a piece of paper on the wall. Outside, the truck driver was looking into the trailer looking for Roman and spotted Yanka through one of the windows. Roman emerges from the trailer and is confronted by the man who was watching over his wife. He heard the circus animals reacting to something in the truck, so Roman asked the driver what he had brought, and the man said it was an animal. Roman and the driver look inside the truck and immediately execute the transfer deal. The delivery was a new leopard for the circus animal show. They move it into a cage and the workers welcome their new prey with excitement. Meanwhile, the driver catches a glimpse of the beautiful Yanka, who has come out to watch the commotion outside. The driver apologized to the woman for what happened earlier. He then begins flirting and competing for her attention while Roman watches her from a distance. When Yanka joins her husband, the leopard behaves strangely and actively tries to escape from her cage. Roman advises everyone to leave the animals alone so they can calm down. The trainer then tries to train her 3 tigers for their next performance. Before Roman arrives and directs Yanka to the performance area, she admonishes her for being late. After a while, the trainer thought that something was disturbing the tiger. During training, a tiger jumped over a frightened woman, causing her to flee in terror. Her driver follows her out of the tent and the two kiss passionately. When the driver senses Roman approaching, he flees, putting Yanka in a dangerous position. Her husband looks at her and slaps her in the face. Later that night, Yanka sleeps in bed while Roman does his bookkeeping. Suddenly, he hears a commotion outside and goes looking for him. The circus owner sees the grieving tamer and tells him that the new leopard died when something jumped out of the animal's body. Roman sees a grotesque animal carcass and gathers his employees to find the mysterious creature. Unbeknownst to her, a parasitic snail-like creature penetrated through the roof of Yanka's trailer, slid onto her bed, and invaded her body. Roman notices a dog barking at his trailer and returns home. He saw Yanka sleeping soundly and undisturbed in his bed. The next day, Yanka falls ill and vomits in the bathroom. When she checked her weight, she was surprised to find that in one day she had gained over 4 pounds. Yanka then goes to the hospital for her examination. Yanka saw the results of the examination and returned to the circus with anxiety. She witnessed her husband get into a fight with another circus member, and Yanka rubbed her stomach worried about her future. Concerned for her child's safety, Yanka packs her clothes and steals Roman's money. Then she left in a hurry to catch the train. A few days later, the taxi driver tells Roman about a woman he dropped off in a seedy part of town. The driver remembers how unsettled she looked and muttered to herself. A taxi drops him off and Roman enters a rundown building looking for his wife. On the top floor, the man finds Yanka in a red robe. He hugs and kisses his wife, begging her to come home. Yanka has a kitchen knife on his back. Suddenly, a woman stabbed Roman in the abdomen and he fell to the ground. Not sure, she asks what to do next. She then raises her knife to kill Roman, but Yanka begs her not to force anyone. Unable to go through with her deed, the woman throws a knife and walks away from her husband. As Roman grabs her robe, Yanka undresses her and runs screaming in terror. Yanka starts talking to herself, and a demonic voice responds from within the woman's womb, mocking her for killing her husband. The next day she wakes up drinking rainwater dripping from the ceiling. The woman walks over to Roman and she goes to get her red robe. She suddenly raised her voice and said she was thirsty for Roman blood. Yanka quickly grabbed her stomach and she realized it was her child's voice. Yanka tells her mother that she needs food to grow, but Yanka refuses. However, the child may jump out of the body if not fed. Her Yanka takes a fork in her hand and tries to stab her in the belly, but the monster hurts her from the inside. The woman fell to the ground and crawled to Roman's body, vomiting her blood. Due to her excruciating pain, Ms. Yanka has to cut her dead husband and drink her blood. That night, Yanka was awakened by chaos in the building, so a child immediately warned her of the danger and Yanka fled the building. In the alley, the monster said to slit the beggar's throat, so Yanka slowly picked up the broken bottle and crept up on the unsuspecting man. Determined to defy the creature's orders, she headed for the river, where she jumped and drowned. Her baby begs Yanka to save her and vows never to hurt her again. Yanka then sits on the bank of a river wrapped in a thick blanket. Her child apologizes and tries to convince her that he is not a monster by saying that he talks and thinks like a human. Then a truck passed by and the driver offered to give me a ride. On the way, he stops at a gas station and begins to talk about his upbringing to Yanka, who shows no interest. Unable to break through Yanka's steel exterior, the driver demanded that Yanka be changed at a gas station while the truck was being refueled. But the man had already persuaded 2 other women into his truck and just wanted to get her out of her car. He leaves Yanka at the gas station and her child realizes how cruel the human world can be. 2 months later, a man named Richard entered the restaurant and got in line. Arriving at the cash register, he begs his angry lover, Rosette, for forgiveness for his adultery. After charming the woman, Richard demands cash and gets his lunch for free. As the man sat at one of the tables, he caught a glimpse of the beautiful Yanka who was setting the table in the restaurant. After some time, Yanka staggers down the stairs, but the man in love follows her. Seeing nothing in the darkness, Richard trips and falls to the ground screaming. When Rosette hears a noise and asks what he's doing in the empty dining area downstairs, Richard lies that he was looking for the bathroom. As the two leave, Yanka and her creatures express disappointment at having missed the chance to eat her unsuspecting man. Later, Rosette is waiting outside a restaurant for his girlfriend to pick her up from work when she notices a bloody napkin on the floor. Meanwhile, the monster challenges Yanka to find its next victim at a nearby restaurant. A few minutes later, Richard came over and sat down with her at the table, telling her how easy it was for her child to attract a human male. During the meal, Yanka and her creatures were bored with the talk of the chatty and arrogant man. Richard shows her a picture of her when she was a circus clown and asks her if she has done anything big in her life. Yanka starts crying and she desperately says she hasn't done anything remarkable. They leave the restaurant and Richard drives them home. He tries to let her into her house, but Yanka refuses, saying she doesn't feel well. The next day, Rosette tries to call Richard, but the man does not pick up. She begins to suspect Yanka when she sees a woman walk down the stairs into an empty dining area. That night, Yanka wanders the streets and discovers a potential victim. She followed Yanka into the building and the man asked him why he was chasing him. The seduced man argues with Yanka, just before she stabs him in the neck. Suddenly she saw people coming out of a nearby door, and she kissed the dying man on the lips and pretended to embrace him passionately to avoid her suspicions. Yanka escapes capture and the man is killed. She arrived at her apartment to see Richard waiting for her on her stairs. After that, they spend the night together and make love. The next morning, Yanka wakes up and takes a cigarette out of Richard's pocket. This creature warns you not to smoke while pregnant and orders you to stop. Yanka, fed up with the authoritarian control over his body, threatened to stab him in the stomach with a pair of scissors. Hearing her angry cries, Richard entered the kitchen and interrupted her insane behavior. He wants their relationship to continue and even wants to marry and start a family with her. Yanka dislodged her joint and stabbed the poor man in the stomach, screaming in pain. Suddenly, Rosette knocks on Yanka's door and demands to see her unfaithful lover. Yanka lets her girlfriend inside and she goes into the dark kitchen. Panicked, Yanka locks Rosette in her room and flees the building. Rosette knocks on the door and demands Yanka let her out. Suddenly her refrigerator door opens and Richard begs her to help her take her last breath. The terrible sight caused Rosette to scream in terror. 6 months later, there was a man waving at a taxi driven by Yanka. The man instructed the woman to turn to her right, but the woman ignored his instructions and attempted to chase the jogger in her target. The passenger demanded that the woman get off, but Yanka subdued her by elbowing her in the face. After brushing off the jogger, Yanka cornered the man before ruthlessly crushing him with his car. She then got out of the car and hit the victim's neck with a heavy metal tool, decapitating her. Passengers regain consciousness and witness a grotesque sight. Terrified, he tries to run away, but is hit by an oncoming vehicle. After some time, the entity asked her mother if she felt affection for her, and the woman admitted it. However, while she dreams of his terrifying birth, she is unable to fully accept the child because of his fear of monsters. One day Yanka's car breaks down and a kind man offers to fix her car. Suddenly, the woman started vomiting blood, startling the mechanic. He hails a taxi and asks her driver to take her to the nearest hospital as she is believed to be about to give birth. Yanka doesn't want to go to the hospital, but the man promises to go to the hospital soon. A woman grabbed the man's arm, causing him to lose control and the car crashed into a wall. Yanka runs away, but faints from exhaustion. She then wakes up on the couch while a kind older woman takes care of her. However, Yanka choked her woman with a phone cord and escaped through her window. Yanka cries when she asks the child what's going on and says that the child will soon have a child. A pregnant woman finds out that she wants to return to the sea after giving birth to her child. Because the sea comes from the sea, it remains in the oceans for thousands of years and evolves until it reaches a form capable of conquering the earth. To complete the monster's manifestation, the child needs more blood and asks her mother to hijack the blood transfusion bus. Yanka dealt with this by using a toy gun to threaten all of her doctors and donors, except one man, to get off the bus. She grabs a blood sack, drinks it, and feeds the creature's hunger. Yanka steals a bus and drives off to take her child to the sea. As the woman was driving, a weakened man crept into the backseat of the bus, grabbed Yanka, and crashed the vehicle. An ambulance quickly rescued Yanka, but the man on the bus died. Paramedics attempted to resuscitate the woman with cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, but eventually stopped when they could not find a pulse. Meanwhile, the being within her begins to feel the coldness of her body and fears that her mother is about to die. Determined to keep her Yanka alive, the creature makes her Yanka's heart beat again and awakens her pregnant woman. She charges the medic with pressurized gas and causes his body to explode. An ambulance driver hears the commotion and stops the car to investigate, but Yanka stuns the ambulance with an oxygen cylinder. A woman's belly suddenly tightens as her labor begins. Yanka begins to push the child out, and after much effort, she finally gives birth to a human baby. She then steals a minivan from an unsuspecting man who stops to check a road map. She drives a car and tries to ask her child what to do next. But her child can no longer communicate with her. During the trip, Yanka stops at a gas station when her car has trouble. She left the child in the car and a passing traveler heard him scream. As I approached the car, I saw a baby through the window. Suddenly, the monster grabs the traveler, drags him inside the car, and devours him. Hearing the man's screams, Yanka immediately returns to the car, only to find the dead man in the human skin that the monster had molted. Yanka discovers a trail of blood leading to a bus carrying soccer players. She asked the driver to give her a ride so she could secretly search for the creature. Later, one of the players' girlfriends wakes up, sees Yanka, and immediately informs the other players of the woman's presence. The men harassed and inappropriately touched her while she desperately tried to warn her of the dangerous creature. Unbeknownst to all passengers, the creature stalks the driver and attacks him. The man lost control of the bus, so Yanka shook off the men's hands and ran to the steering wheel to take control of the bus. Later, one of the players notices a hideous creature on driver's head and screams in terror. He ran to the back of the bus, causing the others to panic. Witnessing the monster's final form and the destruction it can wreak, Yanka decides to let go of the wheel and face his fate when the bus crashes into a road sign and explodes. The next day, the creatures who survived the bus accident finally find their way back to the ocean. End. Conclusion. In a harrowing tale of transformation and terror, a circus performer named Yanka's life spirals into chaos as a malevolent entity takes control of her body, driving her to commit gruesome acts. The story delves deep into the struggle between Yanka and the monstrous being within her, leading to a climactic confrontation that results in a final descent into darkness as the entity's sinister nature finds its way back to the ocean, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Thanks again from Movies Recapped. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating narratives and engaging content. Please also comment on your thoughts and so I know you subscribed and I will reply back to you.